Yeah. You guys can talk, it's okay. Yeah.
Quiet, and it's always stressed me out.
Yeah, like complete silence was stressing me out,
Yeah.
so I didn't know what was happening. Alright, did Josh go to Gavin? Is that what you heard about?
He was better to come back
Alright, okay, well.
Sure. That's so much. Yeah.
Alright, I'm just at the meeting. 5:31 p.m. My phone is the Gavin first day. So Josh brings it. Alright. I want to do introductions in a minute, but does anybody have any issues or questions with the agenda to start off with? No? Cool. Okay. Senators, did you guys look at the minutes from last week? Did it look good? Thank you for going back and checking those names. Alright. Any objections? Problems? Alright, cool. Hi, Brendan. Now the party can start. Alright. We're going to go around and do introductions. Come around, choose. What's the fun thing?
Favorite Disney princess.
There you go. Great job. That's a good one. Alright. Justin can start.
My name is Justin, he, him pronouns. I'm a senator, and I don't really have a favorite Disney princess.
Awesome. Hi, Josh.
Hey.
We're doing name, pronoun, favorite Disney princess.
Oh,
Oh, okay. You can
Your
now.
turn, I guess.
I'm about to leave. So.
Oh, goodbye.
But if you're curious, Josh, he, him, I don't know.
That's interesting.
What? You said if we were curious. Yeah, you always come up and do a question. You know?
Yeah, no, I like the question. I don't know, like Tiana.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
We'll let that one fly. Hi, David.
Hi, David from Campus Life, he, him pronouns, and we'll go very old school with Cinderella.
Yeah, she, her. She a treasure, and I don't think she's a princess, but I like her.
She's a princess.
Jared, I know my favorite Disney princess is. Oh no.
Okay.
My name's Ryan. I'm the vice president of Office Boys. My favorite Disney princess. I don't know if it's Disney, and I don't know if she's a princess, but it's no longer.
My name is Ben Strawby. I'm the president of Mama's Boys and a Sondheim scholar. He, him pronouns, and my favorite Disney princess is Rapunzel from Tangled.
I'm Diego Molo. I'm the treasurer for the Mama's Boys, he, him pronouns, and my favorite princess would be from Disney. Because they're Disney now, Princess Leia. Yeah.
Everybody, my name is Brandon. I'm a senator. He, him pronouns, and my favorite princess is Mulan.
Hey, I'm Gerardo. I'm a senator. Nathan, favorite princess, Ariel.
I'm Miles, senator. EM, Rapunzel.
Hi, I'm Jordan, I'm a senator. I use he, him pronouns. I think now when you talk about like Star Wars and like technicalities, I think my favorite Disney princess, Disney, is Anastasia. I love that movie, so yes. She's not a princess, she's real, but still. Really. Yes. But I love that movie also, so.
My name is Lily. I used to go to Senate. I use she, her pronouns. I don't really know if I have a favorite. It depends on my mood. Alana's cool sometimes, and then Belle's cool other times. And it just depends on how I'm feeling that day. Okay. So, introductions to elected senators. Let's see. Right, yes. Hi. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Manisha's not here right now. She's the Assistant Speaker of the Senate. And Miriam is also out. She's ill currently. So, I know Mama's Boys, you guys are here. You're going to talk to us a little bit about how you guys came to the Senate and just some background, please.
We had some issues with our funding of our concert this year, and so we were informed of it kind of late in the process, and we're having some trouble. So we're looking at alternative options, and one that we thought would be really good also for campus was kind of switching our concert over from a 15-year anniversary concert to like almost a campus talent show. So that we can, because we've gone to a lot of gigs around campus, we've worked with a lot of organizations, and we thought it would be good to kind of start a tradition of having all these groups all these performance groups on campus get together and have a showcase at the end of the year. And so we're looking, if that seems like something that SGA would be interested in getting involved in, campus involvement in getting all the organizations to interact with each other. We're hoping some synergy comes out of it. Groups get to know each other a little bit better. We have a history of doing these sorts of things. We had a benefit concert, I believe, a year and a half ago, and we brought in the Success program and different bands, some of the dance groups from on campus, like performers who don't have other venues to do. It gave them a nice platform to present their talents. So we're hoping to replicate that this year again. And so we have an adjusted plan for a reduced cost that would only be a $500 concert in a lecture hall, and we have a list of groups that we're interested in having attend. I don't know if you're interested in the specifics of that sort of thing. If you have questions, I don't know how early on you want to ask the questions. We're looking at Major Death, Charm City, Beats to do the pre-show and intermission show, the Kleptomaniacs who won a competition, the UMBC Stilettos, other singing groups, the Korean Dance Club, CSC, and just as many collaborations of performance groups as we could get together.
What brings you to the Senate?
We are hoping to have an initiative, work with an initiative of transparency and more group involvement.
So we were told that each SGA senator is allotted $2,000 that they can put towards any event or organization that pertains to kind of the area that they're working with. We understood that Brandon is working with kind of transparency between student orgs and student life and SGA, and we saw this as a perfect opportunity since we have such a large student life support bases from like tons of different areas, such as like Greek life, dance team, acapella team, some people are interested in everything in between. There would be a perfect opportunity for SGA to both advertise possible opportunities and programs that they have in the future, as well as just promote this idea that they're working to be more and more transparent with not only student orgs with their own events, but also student life in general, so that there's more interest in SGA and for people running for positions as a whole.
And we were looking at alternative funding sources, to be honest, as well.
First of all, the Mom's Boys are fantastic and made amazing contributions to campus life. And I knew the founders and been impressed every year since. However, as you may have some indication, this isn't the kind of thing that the Senate does, in the sense that while you're right that the senators have funds to support, well, some of the details are off, but senators do initiatives and sometimes have partners in doing those initiatives, but when organizations are trying to pull off programs and events, their source of funding that SGA provides comes through the Finance Board, which has processes and ways of evaluating and holding up proposals against one another. So the Senate isn't really the venue to fund student organizations, and I'm speaking a bit out of turn because I'm just the advisor here, and what I bring is the institutional memory of how SGA has worked. It's true that the Senate and the Finance Board can decide to co-sponsor events with student organizations, but I'll tell you that historically that has happened when SGA has initiated some plan that organizations otherwise wouldn't want to participate in, and the co-sponsorship has been a way of gluing the organizations together. If organizations have wanted to fund their own events, it's the Finance Board that's the funding source.
And if you're interested, if it's a total no, I understand, but if we're interested in making something like that, where it's like we have an end of the year talent show, we're happy to kind of work as the planners and getting all the groups motivated, but SGA can put their name on it, we can say yes. Like, if that's a way to go about it, have kind of an SGA sponsored event that we can help organize and plan and do the outreach, since we know a lot of groups, and have this be a kind of set up as a showcase of the OBC performance groups that everyone can see. They can show it as a platform to get advertisement to other groups, because we're asked by a lot of on-campus groups to perform at their events, so this would be a good way for a lot of performance groups to be seen by a lot of different organizations from Greek life and different representation. So if that's a way of going about it, we're happy to, any compromise. If it's a flat no, that's obviously a different conversation. But
I'll say two things that I've done, because again, I'm just the advisor here. But one is, I wish you had come in talking about this a month ago.
We would have liked to have our original event a month ago. That's what we had thought, but there were some issues with them.
The second thing is, there's an obvious danger in trying to make something that's really one thing into something else for the purpose of getting around a deadline or tapping into an available funding source, right? It's and the specific sort of the bad outcome of going into that danger is next year when organizations are disappointed with the results of the Finance Board process, they say, well, you know what, we'll turn it into a commercial for SGA, and that'll make it an initiative. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening here. I'm saying if you're a senator or a Finance Board member hearing this request at this point, that's the thing you have to be worried about, is you've got to treat all organizations the same way. And if we create this special way of accessing funds that's different from the main process that we've set up, other organizations are going to want to do it. And SGA is going to have to answer for, well, why them and not those others.
So from what I understand, alternative funding opportunities was offered outside of the ordinary Finance Board method to all student orgs, but no one pursued.
So, student organizations in the same position have submitted allocation requests after the Finance Board staff accepting allocation requests. I reached out to them and told them about the situation, and I asked them to email me back if they were interested in talking over alternate sources of funding, not necessarily co-sponsorship, but like fundraising and on-campus, off-campus like resources as to like have some sort of monetary support and managed funding, which is the point that I was going to bring up. That like this student organization has shown the initiative, and as Ben said, and I know that you talked about kind of manipulating to make it commercial for SGA, but I think this is a circumstance where they're wholeheartedly changing the purpose of their 50th anniversary into a talent show to create campus community. So, and that this is an incredibly important time to have that as an image for SGA, considering the lack of involvement in election.
I still see two issues. I still see the fact that the Senate initiative pot is not meant to be used to fund student organizations. But also on top of that, that while I appreciate you guys being willing to completely change it to work with SGA, I do feel that does open up the door in the future years of any board being willing to do that, and then us being, our hands being tied whenever somebody does say, hey, well, we can shift it so that SGA can have a bigger handle on it, we can be contributing with you guys. And then the Senate, once people keep coming to the Senate, they then have to ask, well, last year we funded Mama Boys, so how do we go about it this year? And it's kind of like, once you do for one, how do you do for the other? Like, you know, tons of works that we have. So, yeah.
Can you talk more about music theater competition, Brandon? Was sponsored?
Yeah, sure, I can. So TheaterCom was funded last year, $2,500. SGA has been continuously working over the past year and a half, 2 years, maybe even longer than that, with the POB, Performing Arts and Humanity building, to try to get student spaces in there and be able to have access to that building to rent out. It was not until last year that TheaterCom was going to have their event. They wanted it up in the POB. They missed the finance board deadline by 3 days because of the fact that the POB it wasn't even listed online for a reservable space. So therefore, they couldn't have even say that they had that space booked at that time. But SGA also saw that as an important co-sponsorship because of the fact that we had been trying to work with the POB for a long time to even allow students in that space to use it. And so finally, once somebody was able to get access to that space and was given that opportunity, we supported it in that manner as a start of like people being able to use the POB, but since then have not done a co-sponsorship with somebody else. Now this is slightly different. Also the things that you guys were looking to fund, I think, which one of you guys emailed Brandon?
That was our music.
Okay. So he listed that you guys were looking for booking, so like the place, the staff in the evening, correct?
Yes, we've altered that. So that was $1,000 with our original event. We're looking to change that to save money. Found a new venue, which much less cost down to $500.
So right now, as opposed to the Fine Arts Recital on May 8th, our new plan is Engineering 027, so the Engineering Lecture Hall on May 15th from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Audio would cost $395. The mandatory security fee would be $127.50, which adds to a total of $522.50. With advertising, we've already decided that we're totally for paying for all of our advertising methods ourselves, whether it be online or social media, or printing out flyers, as well as seeing on campus.
And I understand your points about setting a precedent, but I think what we're really looking to do is not set that precedent that student orgs could just, use money. I would like to show you guys that we can throw this talent show as a platform for performance groups on campus. And if it's successful, perhaps it's something that could continue from year to year. I would make sure that we would not highlight ourselves exclusively and make sure that everyone is well represented, so it really does feel like a platform for showing off these groups. And that's the kind of thing that I feel like SGA should be getting behind, groups meeting each other and getting to know each other so that they can work together. But I understand if it's coming across, and I can understand why it's coming across that way because we're shifting it at the last minute. But I think we can definitely shift it to be that kind of vision of like a very fair, like a show off of talent on campus, as opposed to a Mama's Voice concert with other groups.
And I do see parallels between this request and the TheaterCom request in that they missed the deadline by a few days for space purposes within percent of all was available on the table. And the fact that we just had a ridiculously low voter turnout for one of the biggest parts of SGA that involves student involvement, and this event is centered around student involvement and making students engaged and making students see that student government actually does something to support students.
I just have a question. Have you guys reached out to any student organizations about your idea?
This all has been happening very quickly, like over the weekend. So we were hoping to see if it was something that you would be interested in funding before we went to other groups and told them that this was happening. But we have reached out to other groups for our original concert date. So but this is a completely different thing, so it would be kind of a different message we're sending out.
Sorry I missed it, but what happened to finance board's involvement in this?
So,
Could you be more specific?
Like, how, like, why isn't finance board funding it, or what happened?
Funding board accepts allocation requests. On April 17th, we stopped submitting allocation requests. This request wasn't submitted before April 17th.
Okay.
when was it submitted?
It wasn't at all.
It was thought to be submitted in early April, but there's no record of that submission. And there's no record of the submission on April 20th.
Why does it make sense to you that the Senate would address this request rather than you saying, despite the fact that we told organizations that the deadline was April 17th, because of special circumstances, we're going to accept this one?
Because I think that SGA as a whole should be involved. I don't think this is a finance board request. I think this can be something bigger than a finance board request. And if your worry is like precedents and shifting some historical whatever about co-sponsorships, like maybe that's the change that needs to happen in SGA, because clearly something's going wrong. So maybe it's not the initiatives have to come out of SGA. Maybe we can meet students in the middle and see what they're trying to do and work with them to align our mission with theirs.
I guess I'm hearing you say to the Senate something that the finance board works very hard never to have said to it, which is, you have to do this, your backs are against the wall.
No, I'm saying this is a good idea for SGA as a whole.
I guess for me, it's confusing because I understand you guys missed a deadline. That I understand. But I do still think that if they would have put forth their allocation request, which they had all year to do, they're listing things that finance board feels as though students shouldn't have to pay for regardless. So you guys would have funded it, which is why if they would have submitted it up earlier, which is something that I've heard you guys say often in finance board meetings, then it would have been funded. And regardless of how we defend it, the item, like the line item that is being referenced is still not meant to be used for student awards necessarily. Not saying that it cannot be used, but, and also to address your point, I don't think that's what you guys are trying to do, setting a precedent. Please understand that. But we still do have to think as an SGA, how that, if they hear that, people hear that Mama's Boys was able to come to the Senate to get it, how will that affect future groups? Mama, showed your hand up.
I guess to bounce off your point, like, it seems like if it was submitted on the deadline and finance board had approved it, the discussion of like this being an open event, not necessarily an open event, but an event that like encompasses all the other performance clubs, like that discussion wouldn't be had if you guys had funded it.
That's true. It wouldn't be had, and that's why we came here today to present a different idea for an initiative that we thought you would all be interested in hearing. If that's not true, then we have that wrong.
And I'm sure it's not your intention, but it comes off as like changing the event to get the backing from the Senate. Although it's not, I know that's not the intention, but that's what it comes off as.
I'm sorry, that is the intention, and that's what we're hoping to change the event so that it's not a student org, it's not our concert, it's not our student org event. It's an event to present student organizations.
I almost feel like I'm a little bit torn about this right now, but I almost feel like it's not a bad thing that they're changing the event, only because, well, I'm going to drop a pearl of wisdom from my dad. Sometimes the best things happen when you're under pressure, and just like the fact that they're putting it in different thought, and it's becoming something that the potential of it is exciting. I'm not sure if the timing of it works out just well, and I do hear the other concerns about the precedent, which is where I'm conflicted, because I understand this pot of money, first of all, hasn't been used in the past, and second of all, it hasn't been used in the past to fund student organizations, and it's really hard to change precedent without us knowing what that's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But I think we shouldn't be so focused on the fact that they're just changing this event to try and make it for more Senate initiative, because we should be focused on the fact of the potential of what it could be by the fact that they're changing it. And I think what I hear from the potential of it is that it could speak to some other parts of campus that we are trying to work as SGA overall to promote, which is this idea of campus unity and campus engagement. And we've talked about vibrant student life a lot. And I think that's just one factor in the decision. I don't think that it outweighs the other precedence concerns, but I think that's also something we should be considering.
And I would like to bring up, if any SGA members have groups that they feel are underrepresented on campus, this would be an excellent platform where we're happy to reach out to any groups on campus. So if there's some groups that feel like they haven't gotten that opportunity to perform, this would be a way for SGA to supply that opportunity.
So I'm like pretty new, so I just kind of questions about like the allocated funds for the senators. Sure. Are those funds something that the board or that the Senate as a whole has to vote on, or is that toward the specific senator as to what they want to do with those funds? Because if it was for the individual senator, then for them to decide what to do with it, then I guess it would kind of be solved based on whether or not there is any senator who would be willing to allocate the $500, right? And then another follow-up is just as far as finance board goes, like, I don't feel like you adequately answered why like the finance board can't just approve this one, after the deadline. Like, I understand that there is good incentive for how this could be a community building asset, but like, instead of having the Senate stretch, why wouldn't the finance board stretch? I guess is my question. So.
The Senate has to decide as a whole, so okay. It's not like an individual decision. Okay. And then, like, it just goes back to the fact that I've been telling student organization officers that their April 17th, the April 17th deadline is a hard deadline, and we can't accept requests after that. So that's my main motivating factor, but also the fact that this is something that I believe SGA should back, and that it should be promoted that SGA is behind this, because like time and time again, students are under the impression that the student government doesn't do anything, and that we're just here like eating the student activity fee as a payday. Right. And to have this visual representation of this unifying concert to bring student organizations, and then have SGA's name on the front and in collaboration with student organizations is another reason why this should be a co-sponsorship and not something that this would finance. Yeah.
So is there any other outlets like where? So the idea would essentially just be to make this an SGA thing.
Co-sponsorship.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of hearing, Hannah, to be frank, is that you're asking Senate to change its precedence so that finance board can keep its precedence.
What was the decision with theater fund then? Like, where was the precedent change in that sense?
So the way that I see it is that SGA was trying to convince the POM and the College of Arts and Humanities that we were willing to stake money on being able to perform in the POP, because they wanted a $50,000, like the whole fund aspect of it, and us being able to. And the reason that we decided to co-sponsor that, from my perspective, having not been there at the decision, but knowing all the work that's gone into the arts partnership, is that it was used to monetarily show that we will be trustworthy in those spaces, and to build some reliability and trust between the two parties that allowed us to pave the way for that agreement. And I'm wondering, I'm just throwing this out there as kind of an alternative idea, if SGA can still be part of the backing and saying why we decided to allow Finance Board, or why Finance Board decided to give this request, but it's an SGA backed, like we discussed in the Senate, and it's something that we all we all said that this is why we think this event should be funded, but then Finance Board wasn't able to give that special circumstance.
Theater Council of Majors is a student organization, it's not at the Senate.
It still happens once though. It still only happens once. And in good faith, it's hard for me to support funding these people whenever all throughout the year people's events have been cut, but they didn't come to Senate to ask for it to be funded. Okay, but still, like, things were cut down in a way, or they didn't, like, decorations were able to happen or something. they didn't come to the Senate for the supplemental funds.
I would rather piecemeal because like separation.
I have Miles and Brandon.
I have like 2.5 points. So my first point is, even if I don't know like if the discussion of this is a vote or not, but even if hypothetically it was, I wouldn't feel comfortable funding something that isn't concrete. This is like an idea. It's not. You guys haven't talked to other orgs yet. It's like there's no foundation. It's just thinking about it. And for me, we have like this a lot of money, and then not really like anything concrete yet. My second point is like, yes, it would be good for SGA, like I guess, but there also are talent shows here, so it's like I don't know if that's like a necessary thing. And then my third point is that if any student organization can get the backing of an SGA member and then claim that it's for the better of SGA, I feel like to like bypass like other regulations, I don't think that has a good look as much as that does.
I'm sorry, I don't know if we have to raise our hands and it goes in a circle, or is it question response?
You can respond if I feel like it's just roundabout, then I'll let you know.
Okay. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But I understand that it's weird to back something that doesn't have a lot of solidity right now, but this is a totally new thing. And we're hoping that this could be a thing that SGA does. And sure, it came from us because we're a student organization and we are invested in this idea because we would like to see it happen. But that doesn't mean it's just going to benefit us and it's mostly going to benefit us. I think this could benefit a lot of groups. And it is totally new. And I think if another group comes asking for you to fund their event, you could say it would then have to be as inclusive as possible. They would have to have as many cross groups as possible. And maybe that's a thing that the SGA wants to go forward with. I don't want to tell you, like, I don't know how you're looking at it. I think that we are trying to change this event so that it's like an SGA event, if that makes sense. So it won't come across as the Mama's Boys going around the process just to get funding. I really don't want that to be the impression that we give. And I understand that we have to actively fight that impression. But I think that it can be done, in my opinion.
Right.
So when we spoke on Friday, I think I might have misrepresented some information. So to clarify a few things specifically with the funding, each senator does not receive $2,000. We, Senate as a body, has $2,000 to spend on initiatives that we all do have to agree, or that we vote on to approve. And then to, I think, clarify the difference between this organization's event and the one with MTC and the POB. My understanding was that the building was not open for student use. And that was the reason for the inability to reserve the room. What I heard about the reason why you changed your event room was because there was a conflict of reservations. Is that true? Or what was the reason for the lack of, or for that kept you from going to finance board?
So, in the past,
I think it's come up a few times, but the allocation, Diego, our treasurer here, was a new.
So I physically turned in all the paperwork that I thought needed to be turned in for the event to happen. So I physically turned it into the office over there. And from what I was told, everything was set. And I thought it was like that because that's what I did last semester for our fall concert last semester. And then I didn't get word until last week, last Thursday, that this is after the deadline, the 17th, April 17th, that that this was that we missed the financial allocation for this event, which confused me. So like us as elected board members of Mama's Boys are trying really hard to find what happened with what we messed up on, and that's really what happened with us and our event.
It seems like it's from the transition to paperless system, it may not have gone through since you submitted it as a hard copy, was the answer we got, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so again, I like the idea a lot, don't get me wrong, but I'm hearing a lot of things about precedent from other senators, and I'm curious, Hannah, have you looked into executive branch, if there's any units that could potentially tap into a res staff? Because I know with SRC specifically and how stipends have worked out, I don't know about the local line item budgets, but I'm wondering what the executive branch could also tap into. I know some of EcoFest is partly SGA, the environmental unit. So I think that your idea is great, but I'm not sure, but I don't know if you've checked into the executive branch, if there's any way that Mama's Boys can partner with one of the units to get funding for the event. I feel like they might even have a more flexible funding structure than we have, because we would have to go through legislation and vote on it, but they could probably just submit a res gap and have a more flexible kind of funding style. Have you looked into that?
Yeah, EcoFest actually wasn't supported by the executive branch because the res gap was turned in.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, I did explore that, but I felt like the Brandon's initiative aligned more with the purpose that they're trying to convey with their re-innovation of that too. But,
All right, any questions? Florida.
No question. So, say hypothetically you are funded. I would like to assume that y'all have an immediate game plan to take on. After Tuesday, you're also co-funded by the finance board. What is that game plan?
We already have a location booked like that we know we could book in and work on, and the sound would be available. Our immediate thing would be to reach out to all the groups we have worked with before and kind of spread the word that we're looking for groups to perform with us or to perform at this event. If there's any advertising you can do as it would then have become an SGA event. I don't know if there's some sort of communications network you all have, and then getting a performance schedule as soon as possible. We're not looking to like flounce around with a lot of decorations or anything. We're not looking to do any funding for decorations. Once we got funding, the first thing, like reaching out to other groups and then advertising to make it as big as possible on campus. Advertising, we're going to do self-made little porta cards and stuff, self-printed, and do as much sing around campus. We can ask other groups to do collaborations around campus leading up to the event so that people know about it. That's kind of our ideas. It's also still pretty fresh and new because it's only been since last week. So we're very open to anything that you would like to see in an event like this, since it will be an SGA event. Anything that you all would like to see, we would be bend over backwards to include that in the event.
And we'd also reached out to several on-campus groups already about the previous event idea that we had in mind, and they already expressed their interest in performing there, like the Kleptomaniacs, the Soilers, Major Dad. We have several UMBC alumni that are interested in coming back and doing their own little talent snippets, as well as UMBs to, like Ben said, do the before show, maybe intermission, unless SGA wanted to do some announcement or like info session about events they were trying to do or initiatives they were trying to push. But reach out to orgs would be our next immediate move by
Because it's also getting to be crunch time. It would be crunch time. So we'd have to get everyone together very quickly.
I think the main thing like we keep circling around to, like it's a wonderful idea. It's got a performance showcase that's sort of outside of Pangea. Like I think that's an amazing idea. My main concern, aside from the whole going through backdoor all of that jazz, is the timeline. It's like less than 2 weeks to coordinate this event.
Yeah.
And I would believe that if it takes a cultural showcase like several months to plan, and for this to be planned in less than 2 weeks with a variety of performance organizations outside of acapella, and I understand that Young Beats is pretty flexible, and I know that Mama's Boys is like a big deal on campus. It's a really, really large risk that the Senate and the Finance Board and Extension would be making if it isn't that collaboration that you hoped it would be.
I totally understand that. I think one thing to bring up is that we would be using Common Sound, and Common Sound has a lot of experience with the groups on campus. Every time we've worked with them, they've worked with us. They know what we need. All the groups that we bring in, that we've ever brought in, Common Sound has been like, yeah, we know how to work with that. So they're very flexible, and I know this would fall on them, so the sooner we could let them know, the better. But as for the performance space, it's already set up. We're not going to, the thing about the big cultural events is that they have a lot of decorations. They have a lot of things that go into them. We're really just getting everyone together for this event. And then advertising. So those are two things we have done before. We know how to do that really well. And combined with your experience,
I'm just gonna
yeah.
But that's not my concern. Like you can have all the venue and stuff. Like it's about outreaching to other organizations. That's the hardest part. Like booking a venue, that's all logistics. But it's about speaking to other people, ensuring that they're being accounted for and coming out to this event. It's very difficult to do from any perspective. And that is a large risk that we would be taking on if we would approve this.
And I appreciate that. And I very much understand that. And I think we have the benefit of a lot of groups have asked us to come to them, to their events. So we're very close with a lot of organizations, and we get, when they email us, we respond quickly. So when we email them, they respond quickly to us. So we already know a lot of groups that we would, as soon as we know that this is happening, we're reaching out to them and we say, you know, we have to know by this Friday, by the end of the week, so that we can align it. If we have any deficiencies, if there's any other groups that people would, if someone hears about it and they're like, oh, I don't think you guys reached out to this group, we could deal with that in the few days after that deadline that we set. But I think it's a quick turnaround, yes, but also the other thing is that the night that we're looking at is the night before study day. So we think it would be really great to be like relaxed before you head to midnight breakfast. We'll all head over there as a group together, like a de-stress right before study day. Hear singing, watch dancing, watch all these performance groups, and have it be like a campus de-stress right before. And I think a lot of people are open that night because they have exams, they have study day the next day. A lot of people are on campus, and not a lot of other events are happening around that time. So a lot of people are open free.
And just to piggyback off that in regards to actually hearing back from the organizations, a lot of our members, if not directly involved in some of the other organizations that we wouldn't be inviting, we're close friends with a lot of the EC board members. We see them around campus. Since they would all be on campus organizations, I don't think it would be hard at all to give them the logistics of the event, ask them if they can come, and then if they can, then perfect, show up and perform. I don't think getting in contact with the organizations would be a big problem at all.
And we're not looking to have, it also is not going to be like a 4-hour long event, so it's not a lot of people setting up big performances and stuff. It's mostly, you know, we're looking for 5 to 10 minute performances of the talent that whatever you do, so that everyone can kind of get their time on the spotlight.
All right, I have Jordan, Alicia, and Jared.
I just want to say thank you for coming. I think this is an interesting situation that we're in right now. I think one thing that I've been bothered about this whole thing is like this thing about making it an SGA event, because in all honesty, what's supposed to happen here is that SGA supports all student organizations, right? We have the finance board, which is supposed to be SGA supporting student organizations. We have SEB, who we fund, who we support, right? And they promote the same thing. So it's kind of this sense that I don't feel comfortable making this an SGA event, because it's like we're already supporting what everyone does, right? So why would we take over someone else's jurisdiction or like, I guess like scope of things that we already are supporting? Like we don't want to become like a totalitarian kind of organization. But also at the same time, I do understand what you guys are saying about we need to like change, like initiate some kind of culture change or something about being involved with student organizations. But honestly, from my perspective, I don't know. It just, because everything just seems to be coming so quickly, and I don't even know what initiative exactly it is that we're trying to help with, that like I couldn't like say, oh yeah, we're helping this initiative. I believe that like, yes, this could be an initiative, like yes, it's a great idea and stuff like that, but it's just like, it does feel like, I don't want to, I feel like I'm going to say this, like, I feel like it's been said before, it does feel kind of fabricated in the sense of something that I don't believe in that SGA should be doing. So that's my biggest concern. But also, I think it does speak to a bit of conversation about what SGA should be doing as an organization to support its student organizations. And I think that's something that I feel like we should talk about soon, especially with finance board.
I want,
If I,
you're coming roundabout, if that's okay. Sorry, I do want to hear from the senators, and then Carly has a point, and then I want to wrap this up. It's been about 30 minutes, 40 minutes on this now. So we should reach a decision soon on if we're moving forward.
Could I just give one response? I'm sorry, I will
Make
keep
it
it
very
brief.
brief.
Very brief. Finance board seems to finance individual student organization events. SEB, they finance their own events that they run, that SEB runs, and what our vision for this event, what it would be an SGA platform for student orgs to perform. Because the talent shows and other things that happen on campus are individual student orgs putting on a talent show.
Can I offer a compliment? I'm hearing a lot of different things, and I hear everybody's point. I hear the point about precedents. I hear the point about this being a platform for SGA, and I hear the point about SGA needing to back it. So it may not work logistically, but what if Finance Board, Senate, and the executive branch were to co-fund it, and we were to split the cost of the $500 between the 3 branches? It would speak to the point about SGA branching out. It would lessen the burden on the Senate in terms of how much money would move forward, and maybe not taking as big of a risk financially, though I'm not sure how it would address the precedent point, which would be a different conversation. But it would also address the point about the fact that Finance Board is the one that primarily funds these requests.
If Carly, you can talk about that a little bit after Jared.
I feel like I'm coming in a little bit late. Hi, I'm Carly. I'm chair of the finance board, so I'm coming in a little, trying to catch up, I guess. I feel like I'm just like kind of confused as to, like, if you wanted this to be like a very collaborative SGA event for like a platform for student organizations, why is it happening so late? Did you miss the deadline for finance board?
We did. So our original event, we weren't able to get funded, so we came up with this idea of using kind of a different, making a completely different event. And obviously we were hoping to perform there as well, but we thought that this would be a great event to have on campus that would really benefit student organizations.
Okay. So, I feel like this is all like kind of a lot last minute, and I think it looks weird for finance board coming from my perspective. We fund student organizations for events very similar to yours, and I know Mama's Boys and Stilettos and Kleptomaniacs have all had very similar kinds of events and like concerts where they will invite other organizations. And you guys, I know you guys work together. Right. And while this is like a similar kind of extension to that, I think it's just very strange that this is coming up all last minute, and it kind of seems like because you missed the deadline for finance board, you're scrambling to get money from SGA. And it looks, and sorry, I just want to say, like, because finance board is like the main part of SGA that is responsible for funding student organizations, and we are, like, that is our purpose, and that is what the money is for. It's just a little strange to me, like, coming to other parts of SGA. While you want it to be like a very different kind of event, it just feels like a lot last minute for us to actually be a contributing factor instead of just getting money to you guys from SGA for you guys to host your event. While it is like of a different standard, it just seems like you're kind of going around the finance board to get money from SGA, and that's kind of what
this conversation to death, and I think that Ben has done a great job of explaining all of the reasons why the situation that they're in doesn't parallel the situation that was painted. If you want to, that's option.
Sure, Jared, I'll hear from you.
I could. But yeah, so, I mean, one of the big things as far as why we should do it is that that it does have a contributing factor, or will show the student body that the SGA would be involved. And I'm definitely also hearing a lot of points about the risk and the fact that it's very last minute, and the fact that it creates a precedent. So one thing to think about, or one question I have is just if we were to do it, right, and let's say we did the compromise idea, would there be a way to sort of, would we get to decide today, or would there be a way to set up sort of a, like, let's say we need them to have organizations on board in order for this thing to actually happen, and that's to be a short amount of time. So that, and that is pretty risky. So let's say they came back next week with like 10 organizations on board lined up that they said that they knew were going to be at the talent show and were interested, right? Because that would sort of solve the risk problem there. Would that be something that we could do, or would that be, or would we be, or would we have to decide today?
So I think before we even answer that question, we should just see if we were like want to move forward with this as sponsorship. So I just want to take a strong poll. Those senators for moving forward for co-sponsorship of this event.
Wait, what are the options?
Sorry, for, against sponsorship. So first option, senators for moving forward with the co-sponsorship to fund this event from the senator pot.
I don't know what their option would be, so.
Or against it.
Are you talking about a flat co-sponsorship or the compromise donation?
If we're for it, then we can talk and
The issue is not where in SGA the money comes from, right? I mean, that's not really a compromise. That's what the organization is asking for, is that SGA, through its one mechanism for, other than the finance board, for working with the student organization, which is to have the Senate and the finance board both vote by 2/3 of its 2/3 vote to approve a co-sponsorship, that money would come over. The details of, is it the Senate's pot, it seems to me, are not that significant, right? The whole conversation has been, does it make sense for SGA to engage in a co-sponsorship under these circumstances?
Right. So I'm going to move forward with two options. Those that are for moving forward with co-sponsorship funding this, and two against. So those are the senators for, these are your hands. The senators against.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much for your time. Sorry to waste it.
No, you didn't waste it. No, not at all.
Yeah, always.
Hi. Hi.
Alright, how's everybody doing? Do we want to break? Cool. Let's take a 10-minute break, actually. 6:35, 6:36, just be back, please. And can you pause live, please, Brandon? Or turn it off, turn it off.